for architecture, a gold duty goes to Makeka Design Lab for SAPS, the People's Police Station.
As well as winning a Golden Loerie, Mokena lectures at UCT and sits on the World Economic Forum's Global Agenda Council for Design. At his Makeka Design Lab, it also became clear that this is a man who knows how to turn talk into action.
Wow, okay, so this is where it all happens. You've received numerous awards, many of them before you even turned 35, and you've earned the respect of your peers in your industry. Something awesome must be driving you.
Well, I think it's people. I'm inspired by what architecture can do for communities. I'm inspired by how can you take a simple project, something mundane, and make it something fantastic. So whether it's Cape Town Station, whether it's a park bench, whether it's a wine farm, or even a police station, I'm always asking myself, how do I make inspirational places for everyday people who occupy and use the city on an everyday basis?
Well, if I'm looking at your collection of models, I see an array of projects ranging from, it looks like the train station.
That's it.
To even a wine farm, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed. I mean, what's interesting is the range of scale. But you know what? The best way to understand what I'm saying is to actually experience the architecture. Do you feel like going for a ride?
I feel like going for a ride.
Born in South Africa, raised between New York and Lesotho, Mokena's seen his share of airports, train stations and taxi ranks, experience which helped him design a new Cape Town station that's as functional as it is attractive.
The whole idea is to have a large central area where you got off the train and you were able to see the city, and the city became part of the station. So it's about making the station feeling much more public than it was before.
How does that translate visually?
Openness is key towards making this facility work. That means having views towards the city, reflective surfaces which increase the amount of natural lighting, which actually makes it far much more green and far much more sustainable, but also allowing greater visibility for people moving through the area. One of the amazing things about architecture is that it's actually art, Nick. And what I always want to try to do with all of my projects is to try to bring some fun, try to bring some delight. So even something as mundane as a station could be a place where kids want to play and they want to gather, and where artists can come and occupy it in very different sorts of ways.
Mokena says that he likes to create friendly spaces, as with his award-winning Retreat Railway Police Station, which is light and open. His Leopard Leap wine farm design is bold and trend-setting. Then there's his involvement with Cape Town tourism, where he conceived the idea to change the Fan Mile into the Freedom Walk.
What's great about this part of the city is that this is actually the Fan Mile, but we're converting it into a Freedom Fan Mile where we can remember the history of South Africa, going right back to the times when a tram used to be here, but actually connecting the Grand Parade to the stadium and making a new part of the city in terms of it being interactive for art, architecture and people.
So in effect it becomes a gathering space for people of all walks of life.
Absolutely. I think what is amazing about this space was during the World Cup, the amount of people who came from the station across to the stadium, and everybody wanted to be a part of the city. So for a short time in our life or our history, there was incredible interaction amongst different peoples. And the question is, how do we make that an everyday experience?
This is a Rock Girl Bench, part of a campaign to create safe spaces for women around the city. Each bench is inspired by an iconic role model. Mokena chose Winnie Mandela for her complex character, the famous beauty she possessed, and the toughness that's always gone with it.
I love it when architecture does more than just function, but actually really makes people move and think differently about the city. So this is a bench which you can lie down on, you can sit down on, you can rest. It doesn't look like a bench. Some people say it looks like a spaceship, but I think that's part of the fun. The idea that you can do something which brings a level of art into the conversation.
As an architect, and in particular one of public spaces, you wield a lot of power when it comes to influencing the way that people respond to their environment. Do you feel that comes with a lot of responsibility?
It has a lot of responsibility. I mean, for me, I love the power of architecture, particularly because of how it makes people change, how they see themselves, and also how we perceive society in general. Those of us who get to travel, we go to other cities and we say, wow, they're doing this and so on. And the question is, what are we doing for ourselves as citizens? What are we doing for this new democracy? How does architecture and urbanism make us achieve the sense of being new South Africans? Unfortunately, we're in a time when not many people see the power of architecture. Not many people understand its value. But I always tell people that the average person spends 70% of their life inside buildings. So for me, that's a message that we have to make buildings not only for ourselves, but for our children, and as a marker of who we are as a people. So architecture is very important.
Mokena, I must say, I really love your perspective on the environment and architecture. Speaking of which, there are few benches that have this particular perspective of that mountain.
Absolutely.
So here's to the mountain.
To the mountain.
And to Cape Town, World Design Capital for 2014.